Here's the story. Once the Baal Shem Tov had a pupil. This pupil, he wasn't married yet. A special importance was given to pupils that already got married, because this is before a person gets married, he's not really 100% a person, because he hasn't got any difficulties and challenges in life that he has to deal with providing for a family and etc. But nevertheless, he had a pupil that was not yet married and very intelligent and very genuine. And this pupil, he wanted to see Elijah the prophet. He understood that Elijah the prophet appears to certain people. The whole Talmud begins with Elijah the prophet appearing, right? Appearing, and then the Talmud in Brachot, Elijah the prophet comes back from the dead. He didn't really die. It says he went up to heaven in a chariot, and Elijah the prophet appears. So he wanted to see Elijah the prophet. There were some people, it says in the Talmud, that Elijah the prophet would come to them, and Yeshua ben Levi, it says, he would come to him and explain to him ideas, secrets. And it says there was another story where Yeshua ben Levi, Elijah the prophet, took him into the marketplace and showed him who was going to go to heaven. Anyway, so he wanted to see Elijah the prophet. Now, he knew that this was chutzpah. He knew that it was very presumptuous of him to say, that he wants to see. But nevertheless, he had this big longing. So he went to the Baal Shem Tov. And he said to the Baal Shem Tov, listen, I know that I'm just, I'm not married, and I'm just, a young man. And I know that this is ridiculous, but please don't get mad at me. I really want to see Elijah the prophet. I see that he revealed. So the Baal Shem Tov said, oh, okay, no problem. You want to see Elijah the prophet? I'll tell you how. You want to know? I said, yeah, sure. Of course I want to know. He didn't know. This is real? It's real for real. He's going to see. And the Elijah the prophet gives secrets of the Torah to people and things like that. This is great. So the Baal Shem Tov said, in the neighboring village, which is about an hour drive from here, you go to such and such a street, you turn left, and you'll see that this old sort of hut, and knock on the door, and that's where you'll stay for Passover. Stay for the whole holiday of Passover, and you'll see Elijah the prophet. You see Elijah the prophet. He said, but bring food. Bring food. Prepare a lot of food. Prepare matzahs, enough for 3 people. There's a woman and her husband, an old lady, and her husband, old man, and they live in this hut, and ask to stay there. And when they see all the food, you tell them that because you're my pupil, and you'll stay there, and I guarantee you'll see Elijah the prophet. So he said, okay, good. So he loads up his wagon, the day before Passover, loads up his wagon with meat and fish and matzah and wine and this, and he drives over to the town, and he goes to this and knocks on the door, old hut, knocks on the door. An old lady answers the door. Yes, can I help you? Said, I am one of the pupils of the Baal Shem Tov. Said, oh, such a wonderful. How can I help you? Please, anything. Would you like maybe something to eat? But he said, no. I want to spend the whole Passover by you. And she said, listen, I can't. We haven't got any food enough. We only have for ourselves. I'm so sorry. I said, no. I brought food. Here's meat. Here's this. I brought pots to cook it in, and and everything. Wood, for the fire, and wine. It's just wonderful. Of course you can stay. So he goes to this lady. She prepares the food. She's very happy, and Passover comes, and he's all ready, right? He goes to sleep beforehand. He sleeps. He gets a good sleep, and he wakes up, and they go to synagogue, and he's looking at everybody's face in synagogue. Maybe this person is Elijah the prophet, and he starts to think, how am I going to know? Well, I'll know who it is. I'll bet that certainly I'll know. The Baal Shem Tov, wouldn't play games with me. Maybe he's, and he's looking, doesn't see anybody unusual. Then the first night of the Seder, the Passover Seder, so he's looking, watching, and maybe the house owner is Elijah the prophet. Maybe this is Elijah the prophet. And he's looking, he's trying to find, doesn't see anything unusual. A wonderful time, nice time. He sings. The people are so happy. He dances with the man. They're dancing, and then they look at him when they open the door for Elijah the prophet. Maybe then Elijah the prophet. Nothing. So passes the whole 2 days, the whole 7 days, 8 days outside of Israel, is he's looking. Nothing. Doesn't see anything unusual. He sees nice people, good people, everybody's happy. No sort of a sign that anything is unusual in any small way that it could indicate that. And so he feels very disappointed, and he thanks them very much, and he goes back to Mezibus with the Baal Shem Tov. As I said, the Baal Shem Tov says, no. He said, I didn't know. I didn't. He says, you didn't see. Of course you saw. What are you talking about? You certainly saw. I said, okay, maybe I did see, but I didn't recognize. Baal Shem Tov said, that can't possibly be a thing like that. I mean, you saw Elijah the prophet. How could it be you didn't recognize? And what you have to do is now listen, go back to the town where you were. Go back to that little village. Park your carriage far away from the house. Creep up to the house and listen. Look through the window and listen. They're putting all their dishes. They're taking out the dishes from chometz, from the not Passover dishes. They're taking out, and they're cleaning off and putting away the Passover dishes. The woman and her husband listen to what she says. The woman says to her husband, and you'll understand. So he said, okay. So he goes back and he parks his carriage and he goes to the house, creeps up to the house, and he looks in the window. Sure enough, the window's a little bit open, and he hears she's talking to her husband. And she says to her husband, okay, Shmerel, give me that pot. Here, take this plate. Here, wash that thing. And suddenly she stops and she comes down from the ladder. She's in this ladder putting the stuff away. And she says, Shmerel, that young boy that was here, that Chassid, wasn't that something? I mean, she said, oh, yes, that was a big blessing for us, a pupil of the Baal Shem Tov. I don't know why he came. She said that the Baal Shem Tov told him to come. Says, yes, he was really a special boy. Her husband says, really a special boy. She says to her husband, listen, if you ask me, I don't really think that was a follower of the Baal Shem Tov. So what, you thought he was lying? He wasn't lying. So she said, no. Why would he come to our house for nothing? She said, if you ask me, that was Elijah the prophet. She says to her husband. Suddenly the young man listened and he understood, who's Elijah the prophet? It's me. I'm Elijah the prophet. That essentially every Jew in himself, inside, is Elijah the prophet. What's the thing of Elijah the prophet? To reveal and announce the Geula, the future redemption. The Baal Shem Tov is saying, you want the Elijah the prophet? You're Elijah the prophet. You're the one that has to announce the redemption. You're the one that has to do everything to be the one who prepares for Mashiach to come. So each one of us is Elijah the prophet, and we can bring Mashiach now. Have a good day. Have a good Shabbos, everyone. See you all on Wednesday, on Sunday morning, 8:15. 8:15. Good.